Hello, Taurus. Welcome to your April 2019 love reading. If you are new, I'm Princess India. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. We're doing things the same but slightly different this month. First, we're going to start with an overall energy as well as hidden influences in accordance with blocks, and that's in reference to you as well as your person of interest. This is actually attached to your extended reading, but I'm throwing this in here, The link to the extended reading, or as we have decided to call it, the Lurker's Lounge, because we're doing all kinds of nosy stuff over there. Things we ain't got no business doing, but you know how much I like to look in windows. Figuratively speaking, of course. So we're including that first, then we're jumping into your spread, which is the same. But the only difference is the fact that if you are a cross-watcher, you're probably going to resonate more with the first line, which I read for that particular sign. In this case, it is Taurus, right? So if you are a cross-watcher and you're looking at this to get, intel on a Taurus, you may want to pay more attention to the first line, which would be about you. And then the second line would be about your person of interest. If you are a Taurus, first line is about you, second line about your person of interest. Of course, at the end, we're going to jump into the Dice of Resonance, and then I'm going to pick an oracle for you guys. And the link for the extended will be below. If you're watching this, like right after I post it, it's probably not going to be there. Because I've been alternating between personal readings as well as YouTube. So I'm trying to get the personals and prioritizing those first to get those out. And details on that are going to be coming because there's a list and all that stuff. But details on that are going to be coming. But I'm going to notify you guys when all the extended links are up in the event that you watch this and it isn't there. So we're going to jump right in. So overall, for Taurus in your person of interest, your overall energy, the Four of Wands, joy and stability. What's going on in y'all love life? I clearly don't resonate with this reading. Just kidding. Okay, no, I'm not. I'm very serious. Just didn't want you to feel sad for me for 2 seconds. But anyway, so joy and stability. So there's harmony. There's a sense of a foundation that's being built here. This doesn't necessarily have, it is in relation to you as well as your person, but it doesn't necessarily have to be you and this person together. Whether it's one of you or it's both of you or it's you separately, whatever the case may be, there's a level of balance, right? So I'm seeing this more or less as energetic harmony. With this being Wands card, of course, we know that's swift moving energy. So this is something that, it's a passing phase, In order for this to be something that sticks, we want to ground it into something that's more tangible, more earthly. But nonetheless, it's a really great energy to operate under because anything that you would more or less ignite under that energy is going to be something that's going to follow that same energy rhythm of balance and stability. So that's overall. Now, hidden influences. We have clarity of belief. This is the Ace of Swords, but it was reversed. Ain't no clarity. Probably ain't got no belief. You know what I'm saying? How I would see this, Taurus, is, you know how sometimes you just wake up on like the right side of the bed and you're just like, beautiful day this is, right? And then suddenly you remember like, oh, life, right? That's that fleeting energy. But I'm feeling like the hidden influence here where I feel like in an energetic sense, you guys are sensing a grounding. You're sensing a consistency and even an optimism that's rising a bit. Yet there's still some, I don't want to necessarily say untruths, but there's a level of like fuzziness, right? Because with the Ace of Swords, of course, that's like sword of truth, right? That's coming in. But, Spirit is bringing my attention to this. There's a need for a transformation within the self or in the relationship. I really want to say the relationship because I'm thinking of the Four Wands and the Rider-Waite, of course, we know is the actual Four Wands and it's like 11-11. So this is a relationship that has a soul connection. But the thing is that what's influencing how the two of you are engaging or your approach presently is the lack thereof of clarity of what's happening, where you are, what you're doing type of deal. But I feel like that's for good reason, because I feel like this partnership is in a transition period, right? So how I said, like, when this energy is here, when you create under that energy, whatever manifests from there, law of attraction, attracting what you are, manifesting what you are, right? Drawing in what you are, it's going to follow that same energy signature, right? So, and it's several things that are coming to my mind. It's like the high priestess is coming to my mind with those pillars, right? The light and dark yin and yang. Justice is coming to mind. Truth, clarity, the balancing of the scales. Even thinking with the Three of Wands too as well. It's like this is a gateway, a portal. And seeing the butterfly, it's a transformation, it's a metamorphosis. So it's more or less standing still in the same place, but on an energetic level and in a consciousness level, there's a shift that's taking place. So the lack thereof of clarity is because it's always darkest before dawn. So the truth is going to come out. Things will get clear. What you're feeling energetically will manifest in the physical, but it's just a need for a tad bit of patience here, right? Because right now, we're not really sure what it is that's going on. Another thing is that I feel like there's a level of heart work that needs to happen, because I feel like if this is a relationship and there's blocks in the relationship, it's because there's a heart issue. You know what I mean? Which is actually ironic, because prior to starting this reading, I felt the need to send Reiki to my heart chakra, right? Into my throat too, and I felt a little something. I was like, what's that? But I'm seeing this guy and he has his hand over his heart. So there's a need there's a need for a transformation on a heart level. But I feel like that's already occurring, because this is in your hidden influence. So this is what you don't know. So in your everyday life, you're feeling a little cloudy. You're not really clear. You're not really sure what's happening. So I'm here to tell you that the reason why there's a lack thereof of clarity is because there's an energetic, almost transmutation that's occurring, right? So it's almost like you guys are receiving upgrades, right? And your blocks. How appropriate. We have the Nine of Wands. Rest and reconsider. If this is a partnership, I would say one or both of you is doubting the validity of it. I think at one point in time, it's almost like this, like I feel like this is a story of you guys' relationship, like all up in my face, babe. You know what I'm saying? At one point in time, it's like, oh, this is my soulmate, happiness, love, and joy, and things of the sort. But now you like, I don't even know if I'm even about this life, right? You don't know how to move forward at this point. And with that being in your block position, I'm getting a few things. First thing that comes to me is this relationship has been an irritant. Not saying that the person is irritating, but it's been an irritant to some of your wounds. So things that you may have thought that you were over, I'm talking like past tense type stuff. I feel like this person kind of kicked that up in both of you, right? I feel like you're affecting each other in that same way. But I also feel a level of exerted energy, a lot that's been invested. There's been a lot of not fighting with each other, but there's been a lot of fighting for the partnership, right? And I feel like you guys have been through a lot of stuff, because I'm feeling like this is people who may have been together for a minute, but there's been a lot of energy exerted in the direction of this relationship. So much so that the relationship in its totality is like the equivalent of climbing like Mount Everest, right? Hasn't been the easiest thing in the world. But I also see a level of unevenness here. Four of Wands, it's balanced, right? 4. With 9, it's an uneven number. It's an odd number. So I feel that on one side or another, really, I feel like it's just one-sided. One person has put in a lot more effort than the other. And I feel like the person who has put that energy in is kind of at this place, and this could relate to both of you, but it's being in a place to where you're soul tired, right? Like you've exerted so much effort to the point that you're depleted. And now you're kind of at the place where it's possible to go either way, because whether you descend this mountain, meaning giving up on the relationship and going a different path, it looks bright and fertile. Whether you choose to continue to ascend the mountain, continuing with the relationship, there's still light that's beaming down. So either way, there's hope. But I feel like this is in the block position because of this lack of clarity of what this really is, or what the point of this is, or why we're here, or what it is that we're really doing, is the reason why you're kind of sitting. But at the same time, I feel like this is divine intervention, because 9, of course, is a number of union, not union like with the person, but union within the self, right? So I feel like you have been probably putting in more effort than the other person, could be quite possible. There's a need to recognize how one has been overextending themselves, but then there's also a lesson energetically. Looking at the traditional Rider-Waite, we know the 10 of Wands, which is what comes after the 9, is burdens, right? It's a lot of things you're carrying on your back. Like I said, with the 4 of Wands, energy is quick. It's supposed to be in and out. The reason why the guy has all those wands on his back is because you're supposed to have one wand. Your Ace of Wands, your little staff, you know, a little light into your path and things of the sort. But it's electing when energies are supposed to be passing through, like an experience. You have the experience, you experience it, and you release it, right? An emotion, it comes in, you observe it, you release it. When we get to the 10 of Wands, it's because every time energies that were supposed to pass in and out, we grasped onto them, brought them into 3D. They were weighed down by gravity and they became burdens. So it's us carrying burdens we were not intended to carry. The energy was supposed to just come in and out because that's what it's constantly doing, right? But we made the decision to hold on to it. In reference to this relationship, I feel like different experiences that you had with this person, or even if it's bitterness that kind of started to boil up, passive aggression, anger, things of the sort. These are all things that are baggage that you're carrying on your back. And now it's come to the point where you've reached the end of your rope and you're tired. But resting and reconsidering is not necessarily reconsidering the relationship in totality, but it's reconsidering the self. It's needing time to get clear with oneself, to draw in your energies, to rest a bit, right? To regenerate so that you can get clarity of mind again, get clarity in your decision making, getting clarity on how it is that you want to move forward and whether or not the situation is actually in alignment with you. An easy way to decide that is asking, is the relationship adding to you or is it taking away? It's only one or the other, right? Is it adding to your overall goals, right? But don't put too much pressure on yourself now, because I feel like self-care is hella important at the present moment, you know? And I'm sensing too, it may be when Mercury goes direct that things may get more clear, because you're kind of dealing with, you know, all the transit energies and things of the sort that aren't necessarily working in your favor when it comes to clarity, at least. So, to get some more little intel on this situation, we're going to jump into you guys' cards. So, for Taurus, the overall energy we have is surrender to trust. And it says, trust yourself in your decisions. Don't be swayed by other people's strong opinions about what to do. Take action and be confident that you have chosen the right path. Wow. There may be some opposition here, Taurus. Now, this is something where it's required for you to check in with yourself, like your inner knowing, right? When we talk about if this is in service to you or not, like say hypothetically, if this is like a marriage or you guys have been together for a long time and on a soul level, you're like, this is no longer serving me, but people are like, oh, but you know, it's your marriage, I've been together, you know, stuff like that, you know, whatever. Oh, my pillow. All right, pillow. Anyway, but if you don't feel the situation is in service to you and you feel like it's depleting you, and not just because you're overexerting yourself, but I mean, if it's a relationship that's kind of past its expiration date, whatever the case may be in your situation or circumstance, is a need to trust the process. It's a need to trust the process, trust spirit, and trust yourself, right? Even if no one agrees with what it is that you know on a soul level to be true, When it comes to comparison, you always want to go with yourself because no one knows you better than you. No one knows what you desire better than you. No one knows your experience better than you, right? So there's a need for self-trust here. Now, our first card in your desires position is the Two of Swords. Oh, man. I don't know why. Tarot Sexual Magic, Princess. Why do you do this to yourself? I don't know. We have the Two of Swords. Then in our fears position, we have, oh, that's another two. We have the Two of Pentacles. And then in our soul lesson position, we have the Sun card. Interesting. The first thing that comes to me is, okay, how can I say this? Taurus's fear is being an option. So, how would I fear being an option? I'm going to get you before you get me type of deal. That kind of falls into that hypervigilance that often comes up with the Nine of Wands. It's okay. Taurus has been through so much that I think right now, with this lack of clarity, you're at a point to where you don't even trust yourself. And that may be why you're reaching out to other people with trying to make a decision or figure out how to move forward. But the thing I want to tell you is you're in this place that appears to be stagnant, but you're not necessarily stagnant per se, Taurus. The whole reason why you're here is because I kind of feel like you may have gotten this is about to be so funny. You may have gotten very many signs, symbols, omens, messages, synchronicities, and you've ignored them. Right? Because it's almost like, oh, that's hogwash, or I'm reading too much into it, whatever. Right? But what it really is being so depleted and having gone through so much like emotional turmoil in the sense, a lot of up and down, back and forth, left and right, whatever, that it's almost to a point where you've lost trust for yourself. You don't even have clarity in yourself. It's almost like a dissension from the self, losing oneself in a relationship, right? Or the quest for a relationship. Or even if it's been that you were hurt back then and you've been alone for a while. It's just kind of like a dissension within the self, right? Not knowing what it is that you want. It's a lack of trust for self, and it's relying on external mediums to tell you your truth, right? So looking at being an option, it's almost like you feel something is amiss. If you're with someone, you feel something is amiss. Even if you're separated from someone, you feel something is amiss. And it's almost like your guards are instantly going up, right? Because it's a fear that you're acting from. And at this point, we don't really know if that's real or if that's an imagined fear, right? I feel it could be imagined. I can't say 100% sure right now, because we need to clarify a little bit. But it's a lack of trust for the self and not wanting to be an option in the sense of not wanting to get hit with the okie doke. So this very well could be something you experienced in the past and you're trying to guard yourself against experiencing that again, right? Or it could be something that you're discerning because, reading for a lot of Taurus here. It could be something that you're discerning, but you don't trust yourself to really know if what you're picking up on is that, right? But it's more or less like not wanting to be an option, and it could be even related to cheating. It could be a level of not trusting your partner. It's a lot of distrust, but it's because with me reading for so many different people, it's a lack of trust. Of course, the root of it is within the self, but it's some of you, it's the self-deception. With others of you, it's not trusting your own intuition. And others of you, it's like imagined fears. But this time right now is needed for you to kind of rest yourself because you're not thinking clearly right now. But then I'm also taking into account the fact that we have two twos here, just four, with the Two of Swords and the Two of Pentacles. It's like either way, I'm picking up this energy up here because like how the typical Two of Pentacles is that, you know, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, going back and forth. I think it's really the instability that's scaring the hell out of you because you don't know what to expect. Haha, that's funny. I'm looking at me splitting the deck and we have the Five of Pentacles and the Hanged Man. This is what you don't like. It's the fear of being left out in the cold. Do I have a plan? You know what I'm saying? But then on the other side, it's just this fear of not knowing where you stand, you know? But the beautiful thing with this is surrendering to trust. If you trust spirit, man, you Gucci. You know, knowing that everything's going to work out for your highest good regardless. But I'm going to clarify this Two of Pentacles just to get a little bit more information on it before we move forward. I can already see where this is going. Let me clarify the Two of Pentacles, please, Spirit. And it may simply be the fact that a decision needs to be made, like going back to this Nine of Wands, to either keep pushing for this or to give up. And if this is simply you needing to make a decision about which way to go, but it's the lack of trust for yourself, like not having that stable foundation you feel like you would need to make that decision, it's being afraid of that. Because what you're desiring is in direct opposition. It's like I'm seeing these as mirroring each other. It's like with the Two of Pentacles, you're afraid of making a decision because you fear making the wrong decision because you don't trust yourself right now. You don't trust your partner. You don't trust spirit, whatever. You don't trust something, you know? But at the same time, you kind of want the other person to be the tiebreaker, right? You want the other person to sense what it is that's happening, and you want them to make a gesture, right, to make your decision easier, right? That's what the desire is. It's almost a hoping to be rescued, you know? Okay, Spirit, can I clarify the Two of Pentacles, please, Spirit? Dang, we had 22 minutes. We got the King of Cups in reverse. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If we're dealing, okay, with the King of Cups reverse, dog, okay, we could look at this a couple of ways. If this is a person, we're looking at two things. We're looking at a Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio, leaning more to Cancer. We have Leo here, too, with the Sun. But it could be a person, ooh, wow. It could be, okay, I don't know if this is you or the other person, but somebody emotionally unstable or someone who, you know, hit the drinky drink a little too much. But a fear, wow. I don't know who this is. I don't want to dig too much up in here because that's what we got the extended for. But me looking at the Nine of Wands and this King of Cups in reverse, along with this Two of Pentacles, putting my therapist hat on, this is kind of like, I'm not going to go as far as saying like bipolar disorder type of deal, but it's possible. But it's like a fluctuation in emotions. It's like a person who one day they're up, one day they're down, one day they're up, one day they're down, right? And it could be that the root of this instability is because of a person whose emotions are constantly, like you don't know what to expect from the person. And that creates a sense of hypervigilance. Now, another thing is this could be emotional abuse. That's another thing that you want to look for, right? Because if we were to put all of this together, something that would make a person feel unstable, make them feel unclear, walking on eggshells, feeling emotionally depleted, right? Exerting a lot of energy and effort into something, lacking a trust for oneself, right? Wanting a person to make a statement of care, meaning that that's devoid. You know what I'm saying? This is the first Cups card we got in this piece. That could be emotional abuse, right? That could be what this is. Because I'm getting a couple of different things. So it could be another person that's unstable. It could be Taurus that's unstable. And that instability could come from a person that either has a mood disorder where they're constantly up and down, or it could be from a person where their treatment towards you is very inconsistent. Or this could be something that you experienced in your past. Because if we look at the Nine of Wands, it's like the PTSD card. It's being in that guarded state because you experienced this before, and it's the fear of experiencing that again. So say if this person's behavior changed or something of the sort, you don't quite have an explanation for why that is, you know? And that's what I feel like. It's like, that's like an anxiety that's coming up, right? And it's needing to have a desire for this person, wanting this person to come in and break that anxiety, like make me feel grounded again. But the thing is that that's not the other person's responsibility, you know? It's like there's a need for us to ground ourselves. And that's where I feel like this whole, you know, rest situation that you're in right now is all about. It's about you being able to take the time to get yourself right, to really look at this situation and to see what it is that you're really dealing with. Because this could be a myriad of different things. It could be emotional abuse, right? With this particular person. It could be an instability within you, right? It could be an instability with the other person, mood disorder, right? Or it could be a past experience with a person who was emotionally abusive and projecting that past experience onto the present one, right? But it's looking for your freedom, like you being set free. You're putting that power in the hands of another person. And I feel like what Spirit is trying to tell you is that the power doesn't lie without, it lies within. Like you're the person who's in control of this. Like you're not at the will of this situation, lest you choose to be, right? Now, looking at what the soul lesson is here with the Sun card, it's learning vulnerability. So if we were to do this by the narrative that I'm going to stick with, by who has the most points, I would say this goes by a person who's experienced emotional abuse in the past, someone who was an option in the past, someone who had a partner that either had an addiction, was emotionally unavailable, emotionally manipulative, someone who was, you know, what is it? Rico Suave around here, slinging his peen everywhere, you know? Someone like this where you never knew where you stood with the person. And it's the fear of experiencing that again, right? And attempting to do everything to stop yourself from being in this situation because it's fearing the unknown. I always need you to tell me what we're doing, where we're going, like what's happening, what's the next step type of deal. It's all hypervigilance, right? And being in this flux within and looking for this person to be the solution to that, right? But overall, what the lesson is in all of this is learning how to be vulnerable with the self as well as others, right? Because to me, there's a fear here overall, Taurus. And I feel like that fear, it's almost like that devil card bondage. So if you have not watched the Purge readings, please watch those. Is needing to confront that wound that we've carried with us for far too long and seeing how it's clouding our vision because we're seeing people, circumstances that we find ourselves in presently through those same wounded lenses from the past, right? And there's a need to heal so that those scales can be removed from our eyes so that we can trust ourselves again, so we can trust spirit again, so we can believe again, you know, so we can transform. Because I really feel like you guys are being, and I would even really go as far as to say reborn, right? Because with the Sun card, you know, in the Rider-Waite, it's the baby on the horse. It's like that's an ascent in consciousness. It's like not being childish, but being childlike, meaning reattuning to believing in magic, right? Believing anything is possible, the way that kids look at life with, wide eyes and believing anything is possible. I feel like a sense of that has been lost in pains that you've experienced throughout your life, right? And Spirit is offering you an opportunity to heal that. But I feel like the biggest thing is to not look for someone else to do it. It's to do it with yourself. And looking at it in the sense of you wanting another person to make these expressions of love or to keep their promises or to be consistent, that's something you first need to do with oneself if you want to draw that into your life, right? If you want to be fully proverbially naked with a person, we first have to be fully naked with ourselves. We have to be willing to look at all the imperfections, all the ugly, all the wounds, all the pains. And with us still being under this retrograde energy, what perfect time to descend into the basement? Because that's another way that we could look at the King of Cups, right? It's being unstable, fearing making the wrong decision, not feeling qualified. But the way that you break the tie is by descending into the self, right? Going into the depths of those emotions, really seeing what's down there and setting yourself free, right? Now, going to your person of interest, and that's for Taurus or the cross watcher. We're at 31 minutes. Y'all about to be as long as Pisces. My goodness. So, Spirit got jokes today, bro. I'm not here for it, Spirit. I'm not here for it. Overall energy for your person of interest. First card is New Beginnings. Says everything in life is constantly vibrating and moving, and therefore continuously changing and evolving. Be aware that a new beginning is on the horizon. Have courage and faith, because right now life is trying to nudge you forward and move you in a new direction. That is so beautiful, and exactly what I said about that energy earlier. Now the other card that's making me side-eye, we got the Twin Flame card. Anyway, the answer to your question involves a spiritually based romantic relationship. Congratulations. Merry Christmas. First card for your person of interest. We have the Strength card. Interesting. And their desires. Oh, man. They're fighting a battle, baby. Interesting. In their fierce position, oh, good Lord, we have the Queen of Pentacles. That's an emotionally unavailable person out the wazoo. I can already tell you guys are indeed mirroring each other. Taurus's overall lesson, I haven't turned over their lesson card yet, but Taurus's overall lesson is vulnerability. Doing that with the self before being able to experience that with another. This person's fear is being vulnerable. It's more or less your person has a tendency to fixate on what is tangible, what they can touch, what they can see. They may be a workaholic, right? Because, and there's double Leo here, but, and then Earth, but the word came to me, I'm just going to say it, Ice Queen, and that's someone like their heart isn't open. But this is much like how it was for Gemini, where it's two people who are two sides of the same coin. So if I were to say, well, let me turn over their soul lesson card first, because I feel devil energy, but oh my God. This is so creepy. It's the devil card. It's like, I feel devil energy. I knew you was here, you little freak nasty orgy having son of a gun. Freak nasty somebody. Nasty devil. And then strengthen the devil. Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys now, if you have not watched the Purge reading, please watch them, right? This clearly is a twin flame connection. I can't lie. It is. Because the synchronicities here with the 4s and the 2s and the 11s and things of the sort, right? But whatever the case may be, your person of interest, Taurus, is fearing opening up in the same way that you are. What I was feeling with this devil energy is the fact of like, It's like, okay, if we use the example of past tense being hurt, it's like a disappointment that happened in the past and not understanding how, like, unfinished business, how we're reliving that same pain with other people. So we're not actually reacting to the person because it's a form of projection. So you're not really experiencing the person. You're not really getting to know the person. You're not interpreting their actions properly. It's like you're responding to them the same way, like as if it was the situation back then and this isn't the same situation, right? But I'm not saying just you, Taurus, or cross-watcher person. It's the same thing for your person of interest. It's like I feel like they're in the same situation. And it's like their desire is to overcome their fears. Like they want to be vulnerable. I feel you want to be vulnerable. And I feel like the lesson overall is for you guys to learn to open your hearts, because I think, because it's two manifestations of the same problem. You're both emotionally unavailable, but it's like one person does it through, like, okay, both of these. It's like, I'm just going to say all of them, dagnabbit. It's them icing people out, right? Not letting people close but not really. It's always power games with them. They always need to be in dominion of the other person. They always need to have the upper hand, and they're not really showing up authentically because they're orchestrating situations in which they can always have the upper hand, right? Which, depending on how intense that is, can fall into this place of emotional abuse, especially if the person has an addiction, right? Because that's where all of their energy would be going towards. Now, with their desire being the Strength card, on some level or another, how you're desiring for this person to do some act of love to break your inner conflict, it's like there's a part of them that feels like they feel in bondage to their addiction, or they feel in bondage to their emotions, like at the whim of things that are changing, right? There's a level of instability there. So for them, there's a desire to gain control, and we can also see this two different ways too. We could say higher mind, right? I fear opening up to people, or I fear Taurus icing me out. I fear them leaving because I can't open up, right? And then them, and this is best case scenario, them wanting to tame this beast within because they're consciously aware that the way that they've been relating to you isn't healthy, right? And it's like their lesson being to confront that primal self, right? And seeing that being the root, understanding the difference between the higher mind, which would be the sun, because more or less the sun would be these, right? Because the sun card, in essence, it's like if you added the devil and the strength card, like that's how you would get the sun. No, backwards. If you added the devil and the strength card, in the sun card, then you would get the strength card. Not numerically, but illustratively, right? Because this would be the beast that's being tamed, by the light. You know what I'm saying? Unconditional love and whatnot. Vulnerability being a byproduct of that. So this is more or less Taurus learning overall to open up, to be vulnerable, right? To experience unconditional love, but needing to cultivate that within the self first. But with your person, it's about them recognizing how they have been in bondage to their lower self, to their ego, their primal instincts, and needing also to attune to this warmth of unconditional love in order to tame this beast, right? Because it's a lot of mirror effect going on here. With your person, they show up in the world with false power, pseudo power. It's like toxic masculinity, principle, not gender, right? Meaning this in a principle. So it's aggressive, domination, head games, manipulation, all of this stuff, right? pseudo power. It's not coming from a place of strength. It's actually a place of weakness. It just seems to be power, right? They're closed off. So there's no warmth. There's no connection with themselves or with other people, which inadvertently isolates them. So this person has no connections, right? They're isolated because they're afraid to open up. But at the same time, this is keeping them prisoner to temporaryism. It's a constant seeking to feel fulfilled, but they're never fulfilled. For Taurus, it's the other way around. It's Taurus not feeling fulfilled. It's desiring to be rescued by another, right? But fearing someone to get too close and fear of losing or being disappointed, being an option, being left out in the cold. So it's two sides of the same coin. It's two people who have that same wound, but it's manifesting in two different ways, right? So the whole key is here is more or less both of you need to heal. So if there's a break, a separation, what have you with you two, it's needed. But the thing that I'm saying is whenever you're healing, dude, and I mean this wholeheartedly, especially since this card is up here, because y'all know I got to come with the disclaimers now, you know what I'm saying? Make sure if you want to heal that you're doing that for yourself and you're not doing it just to gain someone, because none of this is guaranteed, right? Of course, in the extended, I'm about to get all up in this person's business. You know, we're about to get all up in their head, their surface thoughts, subconscious thoughts, all that stuff, right? Because I'm just nosy. But for those of you who don't look at the extended, don't think just because this energy is showing up, the twin flame card is here and it's saying new beginnings, that's what the, like these things here, like this, right? The Four Wands, the New Beginnings card, the surrendering to trust, like this in accordance with the Sun card, right? With the Strength card, right? Overcoming the devil and things, not just relating in a sensory way. That's the goal, right? Clarity is the goal. That's the ideal, but it's not guaranteed that's going to happen. Just because you have a spiritual connection with this person, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's most certainly definitely going to work out, because there's the element of free will. So my most important concern is you, Taurus, being the one who's watching me, or cross-watcher who's watching me, is being more concerned with your own growth and evolution and healing. And if you ever want the situation to ever have a chance, your best drop in the bucket is your own healing, because once you heal, you change the dynamic. You change how you show up. You can no longer play into this person's pathology when you make your healing a priority, because you won't want to have any parts of that. And if you aren't showing up the same and this person can't engage with you the same, that's the best incentive for them to get on their healing journey. But it's still not guaranteed, right? So just be cognizant of that. So the card you guys have is what is that? I don't know how to say that. I'm not even going to embarrass myself. I'm from New Orleans. Your ancestral spirit guides are offering you guidance now. So pay close attention to signs and omens from them. Yeah, all the ones you was ignoring. Yeah, them. Yeah. So start paying attention to those. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to throw the dice of resonance. But first, I'm going to give a shout out to my homegirl, Rachel, who is a Taurus Gemini cusp. She's responsible for helping me paint this thing right here. And shout out to the homegirl at Voodoo Bath. Go follow them on IG, man. They got great bath products. They're artistes. Yes, I painted that. That is why it's there, okay? So I need you guys to know I painted that, like me. You know, Rachel sketched it, like she sketched but I painted that. She talked me through it. Shout out to her. Love your face. So, we're going to toss a dice of resonance if you don't know what those are. These are my clarifying die, named by my Subbie, right? 12 zodiac signs. We have positions or roles a person could play in your life, as well as clarifiers if it's sun, moon, or rising sign. I don't interpret them, I just throw them out. But you also have the option to ask a yes or no question, right? So if you want to ask a question, you can pause me, formulate that question. You know, it's fine. Formulate it. Then I'm going to toss them out. We're going to see what we can get. But don't pause me when I'm making a weird face. That might have looked weird. I don't know. So, we have... This is what y'all got going on in y'all life. We have Virgo. We have Scorpio. What kind of stuff y'all got going on? Rising. So this person can be a Virgo rising, or they could be a Scorpio rising, right? Co-worker or boss. Really? Taurus? That's how you rocking? Messing with your boss? Co-worker? Don't get your honey where you get your money be. Just saying. Ain't my business though. Anyway. And yes, in a few months. That's the answer to your question. Yes, in a few months. So Virgo, Scorpio could be rising. Co-worker or boss. I want the tea. And yes, in a few months. That has been your reading, Taurus. You know what I'm saying? If the link to the extended is not under this video, then be patient with your Taurus friend. You know, getting personal readings out. It's a priority, dagnabbit. But I'll notify you guys when it is up, if it is not when I post this. But I love your freaking face, fellow Taurian person, and I will see you guys sooner than later. Deuces.